Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing my WrestleDream review video. One of the strongest cards on paper had me really looking forward to this, and it absolutely delivered in all fronts, but I don't want to waste any time getting into it because there's a lot of good graps to cover, so let's just jump right into 0 Hour. Alright, quick, we're going to get through this quick because there's a lot of good graps to cover like I said. I'm afraid I did miss the 8-way mixed tag at the start and most of Claudio versus Barnett, but I did get to hear Moxley on commentary, which was excellent. More on that later. Nick Wayne versus Luchasaurus was pretty fun. The poor kid just got killed out there, in front of his mom no less, and then got pie face for the finish. Yeah, what happened at the end was valid. The Acclaim versus TMDK was also good. I think it might be the first time that we're going to need to start having these conversations about Max Caster's raps because I'm sorry, they have not been hitting lately. Outside of that, I'm really happy that TMDK got this platform to shine because they're really entertaining in New Japan, and I'm just glad they got a fresh new set of eyes to watch them be funny and be enjoyable wrestlers. I told you we're moving quick, and with that out of the way, let's move on to the main card, MJF versus The Righteous. Alright, we can take it down, or we can slow it down a little bit, but I'm pretty glad that they decided to get this match out of the way right from the start, because it was pretty easily the weakest on this card, which isn't saying it's bad. By default, the personality MJF injects into all of his matches makes these kinds of silly ones just baseline very enjoyable. This man MJF decided to get two things over right from the start. He grabbed a mic, said, "I'm gonna body slam this big motherfucker in Dutch, and I'm gonna shove Vincent into his ass," and he did both things, so shout out to him for coming through on his promises. The crowd came absolutely unglued for the body slam, which is crazy by the way because it's a body slam. It's kind of similar to the kangaroo kick where like, how did he get it so over? But also shout out to the Righteous for being willing to play along here because, dude, you're getting your head shoved in your bro's ass. Like, that's just tough, man. And I know people were saying that they were buried because they did lose here. I don't really think so because, like, even though it's a 2-on-1 and, they're big dudes and whatever, this is still the AEW World Champion, so, like, it's really not that bad. MJF's top babyface run is still really working for me, although after this, I am looking for this, like, his whole title reign to just get a little bit more serious because without Adam Cole, the silly stuff might get a little bit old, but I did enjoy him playing the hits here, and I had fun. Mad King versus Katsuyori Shibata. I can really appreciate the fire that Shibata came out with. It felt like he was really ready for a fight, and that's exactly what he got. This was just a real back and forth physical battle between two imposing forces. Some of those chop exchanges are exactly the kind of strong style New Japan shit that I love to watch. I just love how the sense of urgency rose and rose throughout this entire match, leading to an awesome closing sequence that just had these like multiple kicks outs that were just so full of life. Eddie is always going to deliver in these spots when he's working from underneath because you just can't help but root for him, but there's just something about Shibata that people get behind. I think it's more just like him coming back from the just awful injury, and it just made this match feel so full of heart. So much respect between both guys. I love the arm wrestling pose at the end where they were just like, you just knew that they had a good match, you saw that, and it was just some beautiful strong style wrestling between two legends, which there's not really much more you could ask for. Chris Statlander versus Julia Hart. I expected this to be good, but I didn't expect it to be this good. These two went off. Julia Hart is only 21 years old. She's been signed to AEW only since May 2021, and in her first pay-per-view singles match, she smashed it. Her improvement in the ring has been kind of insane given that time frame, especially considering the level of some of her peers that like joined at the same time as her. I'm not saying it's perfect because it's not, and there were a few moments where she was just kind of out of sync here, and you could tell, she wasn't as polished as Chris Statlander, but when you have a character as good as hers to lean on, those moments really tend to be overlooked and you kind of get more of a break. It's also telling that she's gotten the crowd really behind her, especially here, which they were up for that moonsault near fall, and it was pretty awesome to see. We cannot forget Chris Statlander because she was excellent here, and she's making her case for Women's Wrestler of the Year match by match. It's looking stronger and stronger. You put her in the ring with anyone and she's absolutely going to deliver. She's one of the most consistently entertaining workers on the entire roster in my opinion. And the closing sequence of this was really awesome too, with Statlander lifting up Julia, just showing all that power to give her the pile driver and then the Saturday Night Fever for the win. This was just great business here. It did exactly what it needed to do, and even though there was only one women's match on this card, which is kind of insane by the way, I'm glad that it delivered, and I'm really excited to see where Stat's reign goes from here because so far, it's been excellent. The next match we're going to talk about is the 4-way tag, and I honestly don't care how spot festy this was. I still had a lot of fun with it. I like that in small doses. I thought the Guns were actually the stars of the show, to be honest, and I've been saying that they're actually really good and that the Guns haters will see the vision, they will see the light, and I think you gotta see it here. I mean, they were doing shit like trying to pin each other to get the win, which is something that, like, you think of, but just they haven't done yet. And of course, it's the Guns who do it, and it's just hilarious. And you gotta respect how they literally put their all into everything that they do, whether it's selling or just offensively. And it's probably why I enjoy them so much. It was also really nice to see the Young Bucks with life again. They really are one of the most enjoyable teams in the world if they just like are feeling it and if they're like up to it, and they have been lately. I don't hate them winning at all either, even if they're not really feeling the match that they're going to have. We'll talk about that later. But I do know the match is going to be good, and it's the Young Bucks. They're going to deliver in these big spots, I have no doubt. So I'm cool with this. This was a lot of fun. Swerve versus Hangman, a match with some lofty expectations going into it that I thought undoubtedly surpassed those. Just the aura that this match started with was incredible. The crowd was ready to lose their minds for Swerve and just be all in on him, and they were ready to boo Hangman out of the building. They were chanting Hangman sucks even, which I don't know if I've ever heard in AEW, and I just loved how that changed the dynamic of this match. I've also seen some people advocate for a Hangman heel run in 2024, and after seeing this match and watching him play heel, I'm all in on it. The star of the show was definitely Swerve, though, who proved to anyone still doubting him that he should absolutely be the first black AEW World Champion. The way that he works in the ring is just so fluid and so charismatic, you can't help but feel something every time he steps foot in there, and that's just unteachable top guy stuff right there. Before I go into that even more, this match itself was really incredible. It was really built around Swerve being willing to do whatever it took to take Hangman's spot, who was also willing to do whatever it took to keep it, and it made this feel so personal. It's hard to even recount all the awesome things that happened in this match, but trust me when I say they all hit like crack. The limb work in this match with Swerve's hand and Hangman's arm really added a certain desperation to this that I felt like it really needed. It made certain spots like Swerve snapping back on Hangman's arm, speaking of hitting like crack, the crack of his arm was awful, and it just hit so hard. Hangman was really amazing here, and I thought he played his role to perfection. I think people tend to forget, People tend to forget how good MJF is in ring when he wasn't wrestling. People tend to forget how good Hangman is at working these main event style matches just because it's been so long. And the unselfish ace really reminded everyone that he's still him. Swerve was absolutely the right winner here, and I think even when they run the match back at Full Gear with a stipulation, I think he should win there too. He just feels like the guy. Every time he comes out, he feels like the guy. And after this match, I don't think any more proof is needed. He's ready, and he should be the next AEW champion. He should take that belt off of MJF. He delivered in a classic AEW main event style match, full of a certain energy that only the best of the best can provide. There's really nothing more you have to see from him. I think this is the match where people are going to look back and be like, this is when Swerve came out as a top guy in AEW. It feels so time to belt him up, and he went out there and he showed everyone why. If you have any doubts left, I don't know what to tell you, because if you're really paying attention, if you're really watching the weekly TV, you'll know that it's Swerve's time. This was a match I was really looking forward to. It just unfortunately died a really slow death in front of a crowd that was just so tired. I mean, they were chanting Swerve's house so much. They were tuckered out, man. I thought the in-ring was really good. They were really trying to make this feel like a grudge match, and at times I thought that they did, but it never really was consistent enough to develop any serious fire for the crowd to latch onto. Moxley made his commentary return here, actually, saying that he got fined on 0 Hour for cursing so much, and then when he, returned here, he just kept cursing, and I'm sorry, that's Beast. I won't let anyone tell me that Moxley isn't the man, because he rules, and it's moments like these where you get to see his personality, and he's just so, he's so endearing. But yeah, to wrap up this match, I think any other spot on this card, and I think it would have hit harder, and it just would have been, looked at a little bit more fondly. But for what it was, I enjoyed it a lot, and Yuta is still a key part of the future, in case anyone forgot. A match being introduced as This Dream Match is scheduled for one fall by Dustin Roberts, featuring 2 of the best technical wrestlers to ever do it. It doesn't get much bigger than this. A lot of wrestlers will try to do grappling and try to make it their thing, but it's matches like these and top guys going out there and having matches like these that show you that it's so much more than just doing holds and transitions. It's about the storytelling potential that technical wrestling can offer you, and these 2 told a genuine story with every counter, and it was just astonishing. It got to the point where I couldn't look away, and usually I have a bad habit of scrolling Twitter and seeing everyone's reactions to the cool spots, but I just couldn't. I was completely locked into this mental chess match, and it was awesome. And even when it wasn't technical, the striking and stuff like that was top tier as well. I gotta mention those dragon screws from Bryan Danielson onto Zack Sabre Jr. because they were probably the stiffest I've ever seen. I mean, Zack Sabre has wrestled guys like Tanahashi, and I don't think he's ever been hit with a dragon screw like that because, that's the American Dragon. He's going to have a good dragon screw. I want to shout out Moxley and Nigel McGuinness on commentary, too, who both did a great job of injecting their passion and energy for pro wrestling into this, and it added so much to the energy that I felt at home. There was just something so heartfelt about seeing both guys stand up for each of these transitions and each of these sequences because, you could just feel them marking out and just displaying their love of professional wrestling. And even though Nigel was doing elite level hating on Danielson, you could tell, man, he just loves the guy, and so does Mox. They both respect him so much. You could tell. I also love the way that they immediately pointed out that Danielson won with strikes instead of grappling, which really does allow this feud to continue, hopefully into Japan, where I think that they can do even better, which might sound crazy, but I kind of felt like they were holding back just a little bit so they can get to that match. This really felt like the defining match of the modern technical wrestling genre between two of the best to ever do it. Those kinds of classics have just seemed to come easy to Danielson too, and this farewell tour that he's on right now is only working to cement his legacy and kind of widen the gap between him and second place when it comes to the greatest of all time conversations. From the psychology, to the atmosphere, to the violence, to the transitions, to the counters, to the sequences, this was just all perfect, and I can't help but immediately think this was even better than 5 stars. It's simply a special kind of match where immediately when the bell rings, you know that you just watched a classic, and you're going to want to watch it over and over again. At least I do. That was just sensational professional wrestling. Completely switching gears from a technical wrestling masterclass, this was just total nonstop action, which was, completely different from the last match, like I said, but it was a very welcome shift. That aura that the Don Callis family walked to the ring with was just fucking awesome. Will Ospreay especially looked like an absolute killer, and that's exactly what these guys should be. Well, 2 of them look like absolute killers because Sammy did look a little bit out of place during that entrance, and he kind of felt out of place during this match as a whole. I like Sammy Guevara. I have always enjoyed his work. I never switched up on him, to be honest. I always thought that he's just very entertaining, but it really will take a lot of work to make me feel like he belongs in the spot. I'm not saying they can't do it in time, but focusing on the here and now, he really did stand out like a sore thumb amongst wrestlers of this caliber. I wasn't really feeling the finish where, of course, the Don Callis family cheated to win, mostly because I really thought that they could use a clean victory over, people of this caliber, like I said, but a victory over them is a victory nonetheless. Everybody in this match was working a mile a minute, and when you have people that are in this match like Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho and Will Ospreay and all those guys, how can you not just have fun watching this and just have a great time? I'll start this off by saying, I do not dislike FTR. I will make my fair share of Fear the Revolver jokes. I will share the image of Cash holding a gun because that's hilarious. And I don't care. But I do enjoy them as a team. But I have to call a spade. And this is not me being biased because I know people are biased about FTR these days, but I'm not. This just didn't hit at all. It didn't have that heart that FTR matches usually have by default. I said in my predictions video that this title reign has just felt lifeless for a little while, and I feel like that sentiment was just kind of confirmed to me here. The in-ring work was really good because of course it was. These 2 teams are very, very good, but there was just something emotionally that was missing here that just kind of took me out of it. I was really hoping the Aussies could surprise everyone and win here, but sadly they just didn't, and Bucks vs FTR 4 looks on for full gear, and I'm fine with that, even if it's not really what I would have chosen. I do suspect that this match will hit harder on a rewatch because I think, just watching it back and not being so in the moment might help just focus on the in-ring work. But as it stands, I can say I just didn't really enjoy this one immediately as much as I expected I would. Finally, let's round this video out with talking about the main event. I think a lot of people were going to overlook this match based on what happens after the fact, but they absolutely shouldn't because this match was incredible. Darby felt like the biggest star in the world coming out to that hometown pop, and I don't think enough people are talking about how sick the blood running down his cheek was during the ring announcements, because, yeah, that was fucking awesome. When they were putting together this match, though, what the fuck was Darby thinking when he was like, yeah, sure, I'll take these bumps, because that sick motherfucker was just throwing his all into everything, even more so than he usually does. There's not usually many spots in wrestling that are genuinely sickening, because I struggle with, suspending my disbelief. But seeing Darby lay lifeless after hitting the stairs like that, it was just so uncomfortable, and I was just like, I just didn't know what to think. And then they put him on the stretcher, and it was getting even worse. And then Christian just decides to go to the top rope and give him a frog splash. What? And that stretcher didn't even bend at all. Like, shout out Christian, man, because that had to hurt. There were some absolutely vicious bumps in this match, especially from Darby, because Darby's always going to give me some of those. But it just felt so real and so full of heat and very worthy of the main event slot. Darby just doesn't miss. You could tell in all of his matches that he is fueled by passion. He is fueled by the love of the game. And while I do worry about his future long-term health, I have to respect just him being willing to do this sort of shit, because I'm never going to forget this kind of stuff. Shout out to Christian Cage too, who is nearly 50 years old and is still delivering great matches like this. I know that we're very lucky to see a lot of people wrestle still nowadays, but Christian Cage is someone who I feel just especially lucky for. But I know everybody's going to want to get to him, the moment we've all been waiting for. Nick Wayne is now Christian's protege. It really did shock a lot of people, but guys like me, people like me, we were sniffing it out before the match, and I think it's going to be genuinely great for TV. I think it's going to be genuinely great for Nick Wayne's character. But alright, I'll be serious. The rated R superstar is in AEW. I'll hold my hands in the air. I was not me. I did not say that I was indifferent in my predictions video. I did not say that. There's no way I would have said that, because if I did, I absolutely lied, because I had chills. I was so giddy hearing Metalingus. I can't lie. I loved it. Just an incredible debut. It felt so big time. Like, there was just something about it that just felt huge. And like, saying it's one of the best in company history is really saying something given the amount of people we've had debut. After seeing Adam Copeland in that media scrum, you could just tell he has that hunger to really go out there and be great. So I'm just incredibly excited to see what he's got in store. Closing out this pay-per-view with Edge and Sting shaking hands in the ring is just what this company is all about. And I think if we're looking back at the last month, maybe two, that includes Dynamite, Collision, All In, All Out, I think you can say it's absolutely 100% official that AEW is back. They were always the best wrestling company in the world because of the talent that they had. They just kind of had to get back to doing the things that made them great, which is just showcasing so many different styles of wrestling and so many different amazing characters on their television. Every match on this pay-per-view was just completely different in its own unique and special way, and I loved it for that. This was just another banner pay-per-view for AEW, and this run that they've been on, you could put it up there as one of the greatest of all time. I have no doubt in my mind. This is going to be one that I think of for quite some time. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe, comment your favorite match or moment down below. Was it Edge? Was it Swerve versus Hangman? Was it Zack Sabre Jr. versus Danielson? Ooh, that's me, that's me. That was my favorite. So comment that down below. I don't update it on the side of the screen. I used to during the G1, but if you do want to see my star ratings, I do have a link in the description to my Google Sheets. They're all updated. I got them all in there, even old school classic matches that I've been going back and reviewing, so check that out. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for the support, especially on my last video. It was my best performing video. I'm really trying to get better at this and just make these videos more enjoyable for you guys, because I'm having a lot of fun making them. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Once again, much love. Peace.